Next on Life Focus.
Parents hated me, kids loved me.
A sadistic megalomaniac, Alice Cooper.
And I went out of my way to make parents hate me.
Alice Cooper, the prodigal son of rock and roll.
I was always rebelling against the fact of somebody saying, okay, this is the way it goes. And I, as an artist, I'd go, well, yeah, that's a version of the way it goes. What if it did this?
The king of horror still means business.
My stage show totally overdid it, right? Because I was addicted to it. I loved it. I loved adding this. Hey, take that away. Let's make that better. Well, we'll get a better scare from the audience here. This and this and this. It was creative, but it was an addiction thing.
An addictive personality that spilled over into other areas of his life.
Pretty soon, anything was an excuse to drink. That's when you're an alcoholic.
The wit, wickedness, and surprising faith of rock and roll's prodigal son on this edition of Life Focus.
Alice Cooper earned his reputation as the father of shock, rock, and roll. But to this day, his personal reputation brings mixed reviews. If you have trouble seeing past the shock and horror, Alice would say it's a matter of how you interpret his art. Life Focus met up with him and his family to get into the heart and mind of this rock and roll legend. And we guarantee you, if you don't find this artist fascinating, you will at least find him frightening.
My attitude was you grab him by the throat and say, come here. I have you for 2 hours. I think that's the way that I learned to do it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, be powerful. But, you know, I'm not gonna be the guy that's just now, I hope I didn't offend you, you know. I think that sometimes the society needs to be offended. I wanted Alice to be the personification of villain in rock and roll. Because we had so many heroes.
Welcome to my nightmare.
For this shock rocker, horrifying is just part of good, clean fun.
I think the idea was to be clever, not just vile. So I said, let's not do all the swearing on stage. Let's be Moriarty. Let's be the clever villain, not the obvious villain.
The bloodier the guillotines, the more creepy the reptiles, the more entertaining.
A 12-foot boa constrictor on the neck of this already horrific monster up there would even take it to another level. So I had to learn to pick up the snake, put it around my neck, and I was nervous about it until I started learning about these snakes and realizing that they are probably less harmful than your puppy, you know, but they look great.
So great that the Rolling Stone Album Guild credited him the world's most beloved heavy metal entertainer. But many found no glory in a man known for bringing horror to rock and roll.
There was nothing about that was satanic. It's a snake, you know, it's a big boa constrictor.
She asked me why the singer's name was Alice.
The most shocking fact about Alice Cooper, born Vincent Damon Fernier, maybe he's the son of a preacher.
It was amazing because my dad was a pastor and very, you know, in a fairly strict church. Now he said, I love the music. He says, what I can't, as a pastor, I can't abide in the lifestyle. In other words, sleeping around, drugs, alcohol, things like that. He says, that's something I can't back you on at all.
With his father's partial blessing, Vincent took his newly formed band, the Spiders, to Los Angeles, where he developed the twisted, eerie woman killer, Alice Cooper. But when Los Angeles rejected this woman thriller, Alice Cooper moved to Detroit, the hard rock capital of the world, where he developed his sound. While the heart of his music differed significantly from that of Motown, his music's soul came from the blue-collar sounds of Motor City.
They want it loud, and they want it aggressive, and they want to get hit in the face with this hard rock. So we fit in there perfectly.
But to fit right in with the legends of rock and roll, Alice adopted the wild life of parties, alcohol, and girls.
There are 3 albums that I did that I don't remember writing, recording, or touring with. I call them my blackout albums.
What he does remember is feeding his addictive personality with Southern comfort.
But the problem was that I depended on it. I was using alcohol as medicine. I have an interview with PBS. Oh, I better have a drink. I would do 20 interviews a day. I had a drink to fortify myself, to go do that. Pretty soon, anything was an excuse to drink. That's when you're an alcoholic, when you don't even want to drink, but you're drinking because it's a medicine to get you to the next point and get through it.
I think from a wife's perspective, when you're in love with somebody and you are powerless to do anything about that, to be the catalyst for any change, that I could not have an effect on getting him to stop drinking, that was discouraging.
Cheryl Cooper watched alcohol take over her husband's life. In a critical situation, she clinged to one hope.
I just had to pray, and I had to commit that to God and just saying, take it away.
My psychiatrist, he says, so, how much do you drink on stage? And I went, I don't drink on stage.
Which was strange. He only drank off stage.
And he said, what? And he said, well, what about when you're doing a movie? And I said, no, I don't drink when I'm acting. He said, well, wait a minute, let me get this straight. He said, you're blaming this whole thing on Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper's not the alcoholic, you are. I always thought of Alice as being the crux of the problem. He really wasn't the problem at all, it was me.
While Alice Cooper rose through rock and roll ranks, his fans knew little about the addiction that almost killed him. His best-selling songs spoke of dungeons, dragons, and wretched living. Much of his art reflected his imprisonment to his addiction. He even refers to alcohol as poison running through his veins. Eventually, Alice's wretched living landed him in a hospital psychiatric ward, a time in his life he calls his worst nightmare.
I was the least scary person in the hospital. Everybody else was in there for like chopping up their uncle and putting it in a box and sending it to their aunt, you know. And after a while, when I got sober, I started looking around going, this is the most dangerous place I've ever been. Everybody's in here for some horrendous crime. And they're all like, hi, Alice, how are you? And I'd go, I'm okay.
He landed in a New York facility after a little convincing from his wife.
Coercion, ear pulling, leading by the elbow, but there was no doubt about this. I was either going to have a part in getting him into this hospital, or I was going to sit back and watch him die. And I was not prepared to do that. To sit idly by, watch him throw up blood and disintegrate.
I couldn't sign. I had the shakes so bad. Once you sign in, you're there for 72 hours legally. After 72 hours, I was fairly sober. And I started going, well, I went 72 hours. That was the hardest part of this. I can go another couple days. Pretty soon that was a month. I think I was in there a month, maybe a month and a half. And when I came out, I was stone cold sober.
He was not cured. He was healed. It was taken away from him. And I got a new man.
But one part of her man needed more attention.
I knew so deep down inside of me that my relationship with God was absolutely in the bottom drawer, where it should have been in the top drawer. And that ate away at me and ate away at me to the point where finally I had to get off that fence. I had to pick a side. And that's really why I became Christian.
Alice's monster-like characters appealed to millions. However, another side always attracted Cheryl, a man of faith waiting to come out.
A lot of people say, how did you know when you were 19 years old that this marriage would work? I said, I didn't.
Yeah, that was actually a thought in my head, you know. What if all of a sudden my personality has changed so much that she's kind of put off by it?
How you gonna see me now?
And I wrote this really heartbreaking song called How You Gonna See Me Now that I think a lot of people out there related to. And it was about a guy coming home sober for the first time.
I got the man I always knew that I married.
Cheryl Goddard, also a preacher's kid, met her future husband when she auditioned for his 1975 rock concert. Welcome to my nightmare.
I'm a classically trained ballerina. I will go deep into music theory and tell you about opuses and cantatas and movements, but not about rock and roll. I knew the Beatles, but Alice Cooper? I had no idea.
So just how would a ballerina turn her nightmare into a dream come true?
They brought us in about 500 at a time, and I was told as a dancer always to hold your balance as long as you can. So we finished this very complicated ballet routine, and I did a position called arabesque en releve, which is to be on the ball of your foot with your other leg back behind you over your head in a balance and hold it. And I held it, and I held it, and everybody cleared the ballroom, and I'm still in the middle holding this position.
A position that secured her spot on the stage with the band and a place in the heart of its lead singer.
I will tell you the exact moment I fell in love with him. We had just finished doing The Only Women Bleed, and we were in such a position, you know, where we finished close together, and he leaned over and kissed me in the black. Nobody saw, nobody knew, and I thought, I'm in trouble. What am I gonna do? Because I loved him.
She didn't slap me though, so I said, got away with that one.
A little over a year after they met, this unlikely match wed overlooking Acapulco Bay at sunset. Out of that union came Calico Zane, Dashelle Vincent, and Sonora Rose, who often performed in her dad's concerts.
I was literally soaked in blood, and I have to do the gruesome makeup every single night. It would always change, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
He's just a normal guy around the house. It's a real transformation when he's on stage. It's not necessarily, you know, he's a creepy guy at home, unless, you know, my sister's prom dates are showing up, you know?
Sonora, that's very bright, and everything sounds okay now.
The children will tell you the strong foundation in their home rests in their Christian faith.
My faith has grown so much just because of my family. They're so supportive of me in everything I do.
I lived in a Christian home my whole life, and then when I was about 16 or 17, I actually became a Christian. I actually adopted it as my own because God grabbed me by the heart.
It was God first, each other as our priority, our kids. Business, career came fourth or fifth down that rung of the ladder.
But what many people cannot understand is the seemingly opposing values. How can an evangelical Christian at home justify the monster he plays on stage?
No, there's lines in the sand that I won't cross, and I think that everybody should have that. Every artist should have lines in the sand they won't cross.
Lines he discovered when he first converted to Christianity nearly 4 decades ago.
When I was doing the album Trash, it was all sexual, very sexual, but that was before I was Christian. You know, there are certain songs on that album I won't do on stage because I don't believe that message anymore.
But he now clings to a new message, one he says the rock community often misconstrues.
Even heavy metal bands that go, Satan rules, you know, that whole thing. And then you go, and God? You know, oh, there's no God. I go, really? I said, you spend an awful lot of time screaming about there's somebody that you don't believe in. I think they're actually screaming out loud to God, not against him. How can you believe in God and not Satan? I mean, you know, it's like saying I believe in salt but not pepper.
His angry performances point to the real enemy in the battle of good versus evil.
I do a show now that's just as ferocious in its energy as it's ever been, but I see it differently. I see the show differently. And I think I probably spend a lot of time warning about Satan rather than being his ally. I am now his enemy.
An enemy closely watched by his villain-loving audience.
There's a resurgence in Alice Cooper right now, despite the fact that I'm very open about my Christianity. That generally would put, a knife in the back of a career. Am I going to do my show? Yeah. Can I still scare you? Sure.
The breath of the death is the only sound.
While Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Alice Cooper lives to horrify his audience on stage, offstage, he and Cheryl give almost anything to help the teens who continue to love him. Mona Hanine continues.
The moment he wrote Schools Out, Alice Cooper knew it would be a hit.
I said, if this isn't a hit, I should be a milkman or something. They couldn't wait till that 3 o'clock bell when they had 3 months off of freedom. I said, we got to capture that last 3 minutes in a song, that anticipation. And then at the very end, we have the kids screaming and yelling and celebrating. That's the end of the song. And we got it.
And Alice also gets defiant teenagers. With over 40 hit songs and 22 gold albums, Cooper says his music reaches the rebel he once was.
A lot of kids out there on the outskirts of society looked at Alice and they related to this. We're outcasts. Nobody understands us. Okay.
And nobody could change their outlooks better than a reformed hard rocker.
This new Alice was like, done with that. I am now in charge. And a lot of kids went, oh, okay. Well, we don't have to be like this anymore. We can stand up for ourselves. So I mean, there was a big percentage of my audience that when my attitude changed, their attitude changed.
With 400 kids the first day, you're going to run out of space.
Well, we also own all these businesses in here.
Wanting to help teens discover their talents, Alice and Cheryl Cooper started the Solid Rock.
What we've realized on that, if you take a kid from the worst part of Phoenix and take a kid from the biggest mansion, put them in a room together, what are they going to talk about? Music. What are your jams? What are you listening to? Music is the common denominator. This right here is our lobby where people come in. We'll have a coffee station over here.
Today, the Coopers gave Life Focus a sneak preview of this 60,000 square foot facility, ready to welcome neighborhood teens.
I think whenever a teen says, I'm just going to hang out, beware. What do they call the idle time is a devil's playground? If kids do not have a direction, have a purpose, they can make some pretty life-altering choices that can end them up dead or at least in prison.
All we are there to give them an alternative to what they didn't, something they never had a chance at. And that was, to me, if you're talking genius, here's a genius move. Give them something for free that they don't even know that they can do, and they can do it, and it changes their life.
You hanging with her?
At fundraisers like this one, Alice uses his celebrity power to build on the solid rock.
It takes people in a community like Alice that are willing to organize the people, the money, and the idea together to help all the children in this area.
The Solid Rock Foundation does great work. It's about giving of yourself, and that's what Alice does. I mean, he just constantly gives of himself to make this world better.
Another outlet for Alice's self-acknowledged addictive personality? Golf.
This is my very first hole-in-one on a par 4. It's amazing.
A 6-day-a-week passion that he says teaches him more about life than anything else.
You said in golf it's all about the swing.
Yeah.
So I want you to finish these two sentences.
Okay.
In music, it's all about the...
Swing. A song has to swing. A lot of times we get in the studio and we're playing a song and it's this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And our producer goes, it doesn't swing. And you go, what do you mean? It doesn't make you go. It doesn't make you fall into the beat. Doesn't make it fall into the beat. It doesn't swing. It's hard. Make it swing.
Okay, how about in life, it's all about the...
Swing. When I say the swing, now what I mean is this. In order for you to swing, there's nothing in its way. There's nothing, you're not bumping into anything, right? So if your marriage is swinging, and there's nothing in the way making it stop, it's just natural and it feels great.
When you're that good, huh?
You can't hold talent like this down. You have to let it go into the ethers. What is in the swing? It's love, it's respect, it's caring, it's everything. That's all part of the swing.
With his swing and his song, Alice's talent evolves, bringing shock rock to children's entertainment.
No.
Yes?
These monsters aren't ours.
I know. They're mine. Welcome to my nightmare.
Once a rebel,
I was the prodigal son. I was the kid that grew up in the church, went as far away as you could go.
he's now a rock and roller with a soul.
My pastor said, I think you should be Alice Cooper. I think you should be a rock and roll singer. But now you're a Christian, just your lifestyle is different. You know, that's going to say a lot about you to your friends, who you are.
I was shattered, left in pieces.
I am made of you. It was supposed to be the guy's prayer right before he went to sleep and had the nightmare.
I Am Made of You, a piece from Cooper's latest remake album, The Nightmare Returns, sums up his life of twists and turns.
There's a lot of Sproul in there. And there's a lot of, you know, my pastor. And there's a lot, you know, you absorb the theology and then it comes out somewhere.
A song written about life and God.
But I also saw it as a love song to a girl. And I also saw it as a love song to an audience.
We're only human, we were born to die.
An audience of one-time rebellious teenagers who grew up with this man with a woman's name, who still loves being your favorite villain.
But it's not about vampires and werewolves. It's more about soul. What's happening to your soul? So to me, that's more frightening by far than any monster. The idea that there's an eternal soul that's going to go somewhere. Is it going to be eternally happy, or is it going to be eternally the worst place you could be? That's a great, scary song because it's based in reality, you know. And a lot of times I'll write albums and people go, oh, I didn't like that. You know why? I said, because it challenged my belief system. I said, good.
Without a doubt, Alice Cooper's ingenious approach to art redefines rock and faith. In heavy metal circles, he demonstrates that a strong belief in God and nonconformist music work well together. In the faith community, he inspires the artist in us all to re-examine traditional rules and express new ideas, and to enjoy the maker who made us all. We hope that you did enjoy this edition of Life Focus. More information about Alice Cooper and this program can be found on our website, or you can always call the number on this screen. For now, I'm Dan Meyer, and I'll see you again next time.
Telling stories of hope is made possible by generous viewers like you. More information on this program or how to order this and other episodes can be found online at lifefocus.tv. Please refer to the name of the program on the screen.
People will always ask me, so what's new? This, and this, and this. I understand you're going to church now, you're a Christian, and that. And I go, yeah, I'm a Christian. You know, and they go, well, what does that mean? And what is that? And I go, well, it means I have a relationship with Christ now. I'm a disciple of Christ. That means I read what he I try to live the life he wants me to live. But does that mean I can't be a singer? He made me into a singer. He said, this is what you do. This is what you're really good at. Go do it.
Life Focus.